name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry.
Yo, what's poppin'? All my peeps. It is I, your host with the most, Renaissance man who always thinks he can. And oh yeah, your champion of the peeps, Patty Pitts, back once again in the Yard Streams for another edition of No Nights Off. And you can't have no nights off. Can't be taken any no nights off without the best of the West. You can't forget about Sara Marshall. What's popping, girl?
Hey, yo.
Hello.
Sometimes I look at Scott Hall and I'm just like, how did girls not think he was so hot? I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
Imagine being of age at prime NWO and not ratting for Scott Hall.
I agree.
How?
I can't relate. But on another side, like I can, the people I'm thinking of is like Tori Wilson. That was who I was kind of simping over. You know what I mean?
I would be a rat for is what you're saying.
But like not even Tori. Like I'm trying to think of divas that weren't like Layla. I loved Layla. I was a big Layla fan before she was in Late Cool with Miz and doing that funky thing. Like it's so different too. I don't know, just so different because who you're ratting over and whatnot. I don't know, difference. But
Yes.
Royal Rambling here, and we're back in the Yard of Streams, as I just said. And it's been a wild couple days, Sarah, in the Wrestleverse. Not only with the build up to SummerSlam, not gonna lie, AEW, as I have it on in front of me, was actually pretty good last night, especially with the culmination of the Owen Hart Memorial Tournament. A little preview to my Rosebud. I thought both winners deserved it, and it makes sense. Like they're going in the right direction and not just doing stuff out of the ordinary. And then we're gonna wrap up with today with the 3 count and what we usually do. So let's hear from the peeps in the chat. We got David. What's poppin' to you, Marcus?
Oh hey.
Well, oh yeah, you are
Been
back.
a while.
I know, haven't seen you there. Bernard was popping. Good, congrats on that launch of your show. Good shit. We love seeing the community grow. And Dream Ultra Crazy. My life's crazy enough, man. I love the Mariah May ending. That's the stories we need to see, well crafted and a big payoff. Yes. You know what? I think that is a great way to segue into the opening segment. And what is my favorite thing of the week?
Don't be a lemon, be a rosebud.
It is our lemon and rosebuds of the week. Lemons are our least favorite things, and our roses are our favorite things. Just a few of them. And Sarah, I've been royal rambling here, but usually this is the part where I do toss it to you. However, the Ultra Dream Crazy Man did allude to something that is my rosebud of the week. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going here. And it is not only just the Mariah May ending, but the Owen Hart Memorial Cup as a whole. In years past, it wasn't something I really cared about. To me, it just was kind of a side quest in the AEW storyline and show. So I don't really care that Willow Nightingale was trying to become a 2-time champion this year, because before, like, what did it get you? It was just a side tournament, like never meant anything. Well, now it means something with both the AEW men's and women's championships being on the line in the main events, respectively, at All in Wembley. The Mariah May ending to this. Obviously, she picks up the victory against Willow Nightingale, and as she's going up the ramp to grab the trophy and belt, Timeless Toni Storm, her mentor, follows her. But what happens? Mariah May knocks her over the face with the belt, and she becomes a bloody mess. Turning on Toni Storm and building to their match she was going to be facing. If anyone who doesn't know, it's now Mariah May and Toni Storm for the Women's World Championship at All In Wembley. And I love this because for so long, Sarah, we've talked about how poor the women's division is in AEW. And since then, we've seen, I've seen so much growth to the point where I'm more invested in this feud than some of the men's feuds that are going. And that is your job in the women's division.
Yeah. Well, and I think as Crazy said, that this has been a storyline for a while. Obviously, Toni Storm has been in this character for longer, but almost as soon as Mariah debuted in AEW, she was immediately put with Toni, and they've had like a roller coaster storyline in the months since then. So this is like a big story payoff that you don't get to see a lot in wrestling, just because Vince wasn't always the biggest fan of that, of like kind of rewarding the fans for watching on a weekly basis or getting invested in a story, or, hey, remember this, and we're seeing a little bit more of that in WWE with Triple H, but it's good to see that AEW is doing that because people have really enjoyed what Toni has been doing. And then of course, everything else that has come with this character. So Mariah, whether it's because she's like, all right, I have a title shot, like now we're equal, you're not my mentor, or we could find out that maybe the entire time she was only using Toni to get to this spot. You don't know. Yeah. But it's good to see that the fans are being rewarded for vocalizing their support for the character and the story, and being now they're going to have a big match to pay attention to, and a story that can go in so many different directions now, which I think is exciting for them.
It's nice. It could have been all along that Mariah May was just using Toni Storm, because in her first appearance on Dynamite, when they're interviewing her, she name drops Toni Storm.
Yeah.
And says, I'm a fan. So if that's the case, then AEW may have just found their best feud in recent time.
Long-term payoff.
Like, they need to start doing it. And flipping over to the men's side of things.
Well, can I say one more thing?
Yes.
It's I think that the something that's kind of going under the radar, I would say, that is a good part of this, is we've talked so much about in women's wrestling in general that there needs to be more stories and feuds and whatever that have depth to them that do not involve the title. And like this whole thing with Mariah and Toni was a storyline that didn't involve the title. Now it is, but it makes sense because the story is
the build up.
But I think that's like an important aspect that I don't think enough people are talking about, because the women are kind of put into a box where they're only given interesting storylines if it involves them becoming champion or trying to become or retain their title. There's never anything beyond that. And I think that's cool too, that's another way, I guess, that the fans are being rewarded. Is like, okay, you actually were paying attention to this story and you were interested in it, but it didn't all revolve around one of the girls trying to take the title from Toni. It was like they were all the champion, and now it's shifting, which I think it's been enough time that it makes sense for it to shift into that.
And Mariah May was a star outside of AEW. Like, there's a reason she was at the time a highly touted free agent. And when they brought her in, they kind of brought her in as this ditzy-do that was just a follower. A rat, literally, if you want to use a wrestling term, like a rat to Toni Storm. And the fans don't see her as this big star because they didn't watch her in Stardom, and team with Mina Shirakawa. Some did, but not all. So you have these AEW fans like myself who have, only know her in AEW, have not seen her stuff. Now you're seeing the character progression come in and how she went from just being this, loyal, faithful fan to no, I'm the brains of this operation here. Like that's what you don't see a lot, and it blows me away. And I love too that they based it off of that movie. I just found out that it's a movie all about Eve. I need to find out way too quick. I want to go into that because I love when wrestling, like the comparisons to Hollywood and stuff, and done well. So
yeah. Well, and I think also the foundation of a storyline being the mentee turning on the mentor is usually pretty good. Like those are usually well done and well received by the fans because they were invested in the story in one way or another. So it's like, okay. And as I said, like there's so many levels to this that they can go down, like that they can choose regarding why Mariah did what she did. And I think that makes it a little bit more interesting to look forward to.
agreed. But the men's side, we have Bryan Danielson defeating Hangman Adam Page to go to Wembley and take on Swerve Strickland. And I mean, there's two sides of it because obviously we kind of figured that Bryan Danielson would be going to All In and main event win, and ultimately he's going to win the title. But now throwing Hangman into this is unbelievable, especially with him now coming back as this, I would say unhinged is the best word to describe Adam Page right now, is he's just unhinged. And he is being viewed as that heel, but he obviously doesn't see it that way because he did nothing wrong. He said it. A man broke into his house, stuck into his kid's room, and now he's the champion. Everyone loves him and everyone hates him. Like, what are we doing here? So a little, like, we've seen that before. So now you're playing off of those emotions and you're getting this unhinged. And then to tie it in with Jeff Jarrett and the Owen Hart, sidebar, love the Jeff Jarrett. His role for the Owen Hart, I thought it was perfect having him in it and then do this to honor him. I would have liked it if never mind. I'm getting off track. So you add him into this mix, and he already had a little scuffle with Jeff Jarrett the week before, during the match because he shoved him in disrespect, and on his way out to the ring, he spit at him, just shit like that. So to have him kind of play a role in Hangman losing, now you have Jeff Jarrett and Hangman feuding, and it's going to be a lot better than people think.
I agree.
But yeah, I just think I'm very happy Bryan Danielson is main eventing.
I mean, they're going to try to do as much as they can because they know that he's done.
This is last year.
Year
As full-time wrestler.
Yeah. So it's probably going to be like what we were talking about with John Cena. They're going to try to do all that they can to like reward him without it being over the top obvious that they're trying to give him everything,
Yeah, exactly. So now that I've been really, really royal rambling here for almost 15 minutes, Sara, what is your rosebud of the week?
Well, I think we've talked about NXT a lot in recent weeks, especially since they kicked up their partnership with TNA, and we've gotten a few clues over the past week about who might show up on NXT this week, and we finally saw it on Tuesday night.
Say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry.
I mean, I don't know.
Lost it.
It's crazy.
Lost it.
It's crazy. So Joe Hendry was in the main event of NXT and was the tag team partner with Trick Williams against Ethan Page and Shawn Spears. And
That's
Mr. Hendry got the pin to win the entire match, which is pretty incredible if you think about it, because he was the only outside talent in that match. And he was in it with his partner was the recently former NXT champion with the now current NXT champion in Ethan Page. So it's like, I mean, that's pretty crazy. He gets the pin. I think he's the first male TNA talent to win, I believe, because Jordan won. Yeah.
Male.
But also you can tell that they're treating him a little bit differently than I think maybe people expected, because 2 times in this match at the beginning, he got that zoomed in feature when he turned around, and
unbelievable.
They also did it at the end, I believe. So yeah, NXT, they are big fans of Joe Hendry, and I think it's pretty cool. Like, so the TNA NXT partnership is cool in general, I think, because of all the possibilities that are there. So there's some dream matches that you can think about, crossovers, whatever. But what I think is really fascinating, and we've talked about this before, is that it just always goes back to being amazed that this partnership is even happening, because there were years where these companies and their wrestlers hated each other. And the fact that Joe Hendry is one of TNA's biggest stars right now, like an overnight success, and they're cool with loaning him out to their direct competition, in a way, is pretty crazy if you think about it, because WWE are the ones that are benefiting from Hendry being there. Like, yeah, it gives TNA exposure, it gives Hendry exposure, but when it comes to like ratings and like immediate payback, that's WWE. So it's pretty cool that TNA is so on board with what they're doing, that they're willing to be like, yeah, okay, we'll give this guy to you. Same thing with Jordan, like having Jordan be in the company, and she's the Knockouts champion, but that's still a big deal for her to be like in the women's main event match of NXT. So it just gets me a little bit more excited to be like, okay, what's to come? Like, how far are they going to push this? Is Joe Hendry going to be a champion? Like, could we see him be like the NXT North American champion? What if he became the NXT champion? I feel like this is it seems like they're broadening their horizons with what this partnership could be. And I'm fascinated. Like, I'm really interested. They see this reaction to Joe Hendry, and it's like, well, you might want to take advantage of that too, and you get free publicity if you put one of your titles on him and he appears on Impact with it. So I don't know.
You're right that the immediate goes to WWE. Hands down, immediate, because of social media views. But the long term, damn right, dream. You should dream of Joe Hendry. Seriously, we all are at some point. The immediate success goes to WWE, but the long term for TNA is so beneficial, because you have these guys going over to WWE, and let's face it, they're probably going to sign with WWE after they leave, because TNA is still viewed as a little bit of a stepping stone. But what that's doing,
or the place you go back to after you bomb,
or the play, it's like the DC to the Marvel. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those. And TNA does it right. TNA does not try to be, a WWE. They go with the low attendance. So they're not worried about that. They go for the people watching, at home, and those the streamers, the diehards, like the collaborations with streamers, so that they can stream in a mini box down below while you have they have the pay-per-view going. That is so beneficial, that it's such a I don't want to, Sarah, you're gonna like it, but the peeps aren't. It's a very Patriot mentality, a Belichickian way of thinking,
Mm-hmm.
it satisfies me that I watched TNA when it was in its infancy, in the six-sided ring,
Mm-hmm.
with Abyss and Monty Brown and Christopher Daniels, the Fallen Angel. Those guys, and to see where it's become, it's incredible.
I think this is the best way to go about this partnership too. Like, it's not something where they're trying to throw it in your face, like, haha, look at us, we got to partner with TNA. Like, it's not trying to act like they own the other company. Like, they're really doing this in a partnership, and you're not trying to use each other. Like, TNA isn't trying to get the top NXT people on their show, and WWE isn't trying to steal away their top people either. It's like they're going about it the way that the fans want to see, I think, and the people that will benefit the most from it, whether it's the talent or the fans that are watching it. So I really like what they're doing so far. And I think it also says a lot about Shawn Michaels' growth as the one that's running NXT.
Oh my God. It's unbelievable. It really, he's taking it to new heights.
Yeah. Richard says the NXT TNA partnership is really helping NXT currently, as the draft really hurt NXT. It did. But I think that's also why we're hearing about some really solid signings, which we'll talk about. But like, Ethan Page, even like coming to WWE.
Biggest shock. It's the biggest shock I've seen in a return in fairly recent history.
And look at how quickly they made him champion. Like, and not even just that, the way they made him champion. HBK sitting there being like, okay, let's create a moment from an iconic match I was in. You do that, Ethan. That's what we're going to do. So it's like they're really entrusting a lot in Ethan Page already. And I don't think it's unfair either. I think that they're all benefiting from this, and we needed Trick to kind of have this moment too, because now that he's not directly associated with Carmelo Hayes, because Carmelo is on SmackDown, it's great that he won the title from Carmelo, but that story is gone now. So it's like, we don't need to see him be champion for a year. We need to see the struggle of like being champion, losing the championship, maybe getting it back, or maybe not getting it. We need to see that growth and Trick the way that we saw it with Carmelo. So I feel like it makes sense for Ethan Page to be in that position right now. Not to mention, like, it's not like Ethan Page isn't a person that people knew before coming to NXT. People knew who he was.
Yeah,
so,
thank you.
Yeah,
he was very well touted.
Yeah, so I think they're just doing a good job. I don't know many people who are complaining about NXT.
It's really hard. So it would be really hard to do. Is complain about it.
Well, and we've said, like, following the black and gold era was not going to be easy, and to try and make NXT into something different, which they really attempted to do with the NXT
really
2.0, which was just an absolute disaster, because I think that the developmental part of NXT is great, and when you're watching NXT that a lot of the talent are newer, but I think the way that they went about it with like the color rainbow splat logo,
terrible
or whatever,
awful.
You know what it was though? I think it was because they were taking it like too literally. Like, they really were putting people on there that had no business being on TV yet. That's kind of like how it felt, and it's not even in a disrespectful way. It's like, you are too green to be on a weekly television show. Like, I think that's where they got wrong, what they got wrong. Sorry.
Yes.
And now we're still seeing these people in developmental, and they're learning every single week, and they're getting better at promos and in the ring and whatever, but it doesn't stand out or make you cringe every single time the way that it did before. So I think that there's like a good balance now. Even with the names that are reportedly coming into NXT, like, they're big names, yes, but like, they're not going to dominate in NXT the way that Triple H started going about it, where he was bringing like the biggest free agent indie stars all at the same time and kind of trying to make it his own indie brand. Like, I don't think that's what's happening, but Shawn is like balancing it really well, and I think that's why NXT is thriving.
It really is. It's awesome to tune in on Tuesdays. Like we used to not tune in because it would just be like, what's the point?
We cringed. We were saying,
I
what is
couldn't.
this? Like, what is going on? And it's not even like you're trying to be rude, but there's a reason
No.
why when you go to wrestling school, they're not showing you their first match on television. You know what I mean? Like their
It's
first 10 matches aren't broadcast on TV because it's still a learning experience. Like, I don't know that I would want to be in that position where I'm still learning how to do things and you're like, yeah, we're going to put this on national television this week. Like you're going to do it because, you know, it's your job and you're working for a really big company, but that doesn't mean that the fans are going to want to see it or that they're going to enjoy it, you know, like, especially when it comes to a company like WWE, like you expect the best of the best. And even if NXT was trying to rebrand themselves in that way, I think that they just went about it going from the absolute best version of NXT to the complete opposite of being like, we're developmental. These people have only been wrestling for 3 weeks, you know, like that was too much of a fluctuation, I feel like, in the on the scale of what we were seeing, if that makes any sense.
There's a reason you don't see the first take of a performance.
Mm-hmm.
You got to think of it like that. So, Lemon, I'm trying to think of mine. I had it, but I kind of lost it, to be quite honest with you, because I'm so hyped up. Oh, I know what it was. Boom. Talk out your thoughts. I want to say to the peeps who thought that Will Ospreay's shot at the bidding war of 2024 was about WWE. It was a shot at WWE, when in reality it was a shot at MJF, because MJF brought it up on Collision. It showed, and I don't mean to sound disrespectful, but it's gonna come off like that. So sorry, but it really showed who watches what show and who are the people who just want to say hate and want to bleed the other team's colors, you know. And I like this feud. To be honest, I really like what's going on in AEW right now. It's not as good as obviously the WWE, but it's trying to be better. And I think the recent news of Tony Khan or booking these big matches is because of the ratings being down so low.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have Swerve Strickland fighting next week, you have MJF and Will Ospreay for free on television. You know what I mean? Like it's a cry that you need ratings, and you're gonna get it with those guys. I don't mind it because we're gonna tune in anyways. It's gonna make me tune in, but it shows where you're at. It does say that you're trying, and I respect that.
So I have a counter. I have to remember, I have two things. So the first thing is, I did see the reaction to what Ospreay said. And I agree that there's a lot of tribalism. So people
Thank you.
Yeah. So people are going to assume that when someone says something like this and then the aggregator accounts post it without any context, people are going to assume the worst, especially when the person saying it is someone who has taken multiple shots at WWE. So people are going to immediately assume that he's doing it again. So I think that was why a lot of people were reacting that way, because they either didn't see the clip, or from what I was seeing, people were just posting a picture with the quote of what he said, and that was it. There was no context. Yeah, and then that's when the WWE fans were responding, being like, of course he's saying this, right? So it's like that. I think people were wanting the WWE tribalists to say it, and then they were pretending like they were mad or to make fun of them for doing it, when it was like, you knew what you were doing. You know what I mean? Like, because it's very easy to post a picture from the show with the quote, and then you can say Will Ospreay said this to MJF. You know what I mean? Like, to apply at least that bit of context to avoid to avoid that reaction. But at the same time, I don't know if you saw this, but there was another tweet that was going around of AEW tribalists, and they were posting pictures of the end of Dynamite with Mariah May standing over a bloodied Toni Storm, saying like this is the women's championship storyline right now compared to this, and they were posting a picture of Liv on top of Dom
straddling Dom
and alluding to
awesome.
like, look at the difference in seriousness of the women's division, look at how much better AEW is than the women's division and WWE, and the story is such crazy, it's so dumb, blah blah blah, right? The original poster of that tweet then said, I didn't even say anything was bad, and you guys just immediately jumped to it. It's like,
Okay,
bro, we know what you were doing, bro. We know what you were doing, because if you actually had been watching Raw, then yeah, you would be interested in the Liv, Rhea, Dominic storyline and Judgment Day. Like, you wouldn't be shitting on it, nor would you be trying to sum it up in just a picture of Liv straddling Dom. Like, that's not what is happening. So I think, yeah, we've talked about the AEW versus WWE fans, and it just continues to be a toxic part of the internet, and it feels like it's just never going to go away, and people are feeding it. I think that's the problem, is if people just kind of went about their day, if they're an AEW fan, post about AEW. Everything doesn't need to be about, oh, AEW is better, WWE sucks, and vice versa. Like, it doesn't have to be that way, but because people enjoy the interaction or to see the drama or to out trolls or idiots, whatever it is, they just keep feeding the fueling the fire, you know? And so we're just going to keep seeing stupid stuff like that, unfortunately. It's really annoying because I feel like you can enjoy what you enjoy. If you watch AEW, watch AEW. If you hate WWE, don't watch it. If you love WWE, watch it. You hate AEW, don't watch it. Like, you don't have to make hating the other company your entire personality. Like, you don't. So
you just expose yourself by doing that. Like all the people doing, like making those comments and whatnot. That's what just like, it's like, really? You just, if you had a little bit of thought and actually did a little bit of research, you'd find out the real story, and we wouldn't get into this mess.
Well, and just, I feel like, just don't comment on something if you don't actually know anything about it. Like, exactly. Will Ospreay, when I first read it, I was like, oh, what's he talking about? Like, I was like, maybe it's about WWE. I don't know, you know, just,
yeah, exactly.
But I didn't know. And that was why I was reading the comments. And then I saw people saying, oh, this is about WWE. Then I saw people being like, you're an idiot. It's not. So I'm like, I would never just like quote tweet it or comment on it if I didn't actually understand the context. So I think that people just need to be better about, like, don't say anything unless you know. But that's asking too much from people on the internet. So
it really is. You can't ask for much with these people. You really can't. You know what? Before we head into the Wrestleverse, let's hear from the peeps and their lemons and rosebuds. Oh, what's up, Jay? How you doing?
Also, I don't have a lemon, so we can skip mine. That's fine. By the way,
I thought you gave your lemon.
No.
I really got to get with this memory.
It's fine. I don't have one. I just deleted it anyway. So go. It's fine.
All right. Well, Jay said my rosebud is Dom beating Ray.
I want to say, shout out Liv.
Shout out Liv.
I am living for this Liv.
I know you did there. Lemon, Tyler Bate being injured for 9 months sucks.
I know.
I love Tyler Bate.
Bate, man. I don't I don't see it, but clearly the ladies love them some Tyler Bate, because he was engaged to Toni Storm. And I forget who he dated. Liv Morgan. Now he's with Sol Ruka. He's got a type, and the ladies, he's their type. So,
Thea Hale, I'm pretty sure, was another one.
Maybe, I don't know. That one's kind of someone else. Weird. That would be weird because she's young. But
I know, but she was with somebody. I'd have to double check.
Let's hope it's not that, because he's much older than her, which is weird.
Also, Lemon, people throwing out the Vince lawsuit to shit on the Dom Liv story. I don't even want to entertain that. I didn't see that. Those
are going to be AEW weirdos that don't really, that have no idea what the lawsuit is, because there's no correlation. I did see that, though. I did see someone say that, and I was like, I can't even, like,
I can't,
because there's
no difference.
It's like, WWE would be the dumbest people on earth if they were even going to try to entertain the idea of any type of storyline that involved like a lack of consent and like a power dynamic and whatever. They
Tone
would
deaf.
be ballsy to do that when they're in the midst of a lawsuit. But
Yeah, it would literally be tone deaf, and it's
those are
not.
just people who hate WWE. They hate Vince McMahon. They want to see their downfall. So they just want to throw
Exactly.
this out there anytime, as if every single person in AEW has a clean record and no accusations of misconduct or anything. Like, okay.
No disrespect, but AEW women's division isn't even close to. It's not, but this Toni Storm Mariah May is a damn good step in the right direction. Damn good. Yeah, Dickie even says it. It's improving. Mariah May heel turn was great. Still valid criticism that a lot of that women's division is not consistently used. Yeah, I would have to say Julia Hart may be injured. I think that's what it is. Sky Blue's doing like an Indies run type of thing, and those were their, I would say Plan B's, Team B. Everyone else, Britt Baker, Mercedes Moné. I want to see Britt Baker kick the shit out of her. So I don't really. And there's no. That's just another outsider coming into the company and the loyalist pillar defending it. You know what I mean? It's not like there's no real substance there like the Mariah May Toni Storm that's been building for so long.
I think that the women's divisions in both companies kind of just like go up and down. Like, I wouldn't say that WWE's women's division is good all the time, because it's not. There are some times where we're like, what is happening? This is so boring. Like, why is this person in the title mix still? Or why isn't this person doing this? Or the champion hasn't even defended the title in 3 months. You know what I mean? Like, there's stuff like that happens in WWE. And, obviously the AEW women's division has been, I would say, more so neglected by the writers in AEW. There's a reason that even the women's talent in AEW have voiced their displeasure with not being used. Well, that's not any different than what's been said in WWE. So I think it just like depends on the time. Like right now, it seems like, okay, for the most part, AEW's women's division is doing really well. And the same could be said about WWE, but there could be a totally different feeling around both in a month or in 3 months. Like we could be talking about one is doing significantly better, or one's doing significantly worse. It's just kind of, unfortunately, the story of the women's division, that it's still not 100% equal to the way that the men's division is treated.
Yeah, it's not. Other Rosebud is Joe Hendry. Damn right.
That's right.
You see the new trend? The new trend is stop it, Siri. The new trend is that they're doing like Joe Hendry, but it's this. So I saw one that was Joe Hendry, but he's only loved in Scotland.
Oh, I've seen videos of people using like AI or whatever, and they put it in. It was like Cody Rhodes was singing the song, but it was like, I believe, and then he's like, Cody Rhodes, and then it just keeps going. It's like, or there was Omos, but it was like MVP saying it, but the video is like Omos put over Joe Hendry, so it looks like Omos is doing the song, but then instead of saying I believe in Joe Hendry, it's I believe in Omos. Yeah, it's like, it's really weird. I can try and find it.
That's incredible. That is so
the Cody
funny.
Rhodes one kind of freaked me out because it's like it looked really bad.
Yeah, but I don't like bad AI.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. But anyway.
So what's popping in the Wrestleverse? We're gonna let you know right now with, I would say, probably the biggest news of the week. CMLL's Stephanie Vaquer, also former New Japan women's strong champion. She was the champion and then lost it to Mercedes Moné at Forbidden Door, and it was the rumblings that she was going to be a free agent, and then I'm not even kidding. It felt like minutes later. It was definitely more than hours. But reported that she's rumored to go to WWE, and people are pissed, which I love because I feel like for the most part, every signing has been just like, oh yeah, they signed because they left and their contract was up, blah blah blah. But no, like she had dates that she had to sign, like commit to, where she was supposed to drop the title and it didn't. And then the way it went about that was she was talking to AEW and WWE just swooped in. It's just I haven't seen something like that with substance, a signing like that with substance in a long time. It's just very refreshing to see as a
So
chaotic
who's
wrestling
mad
fan.
though? Is it like AEW fans? Is it like New Japan fans? Like who's mad?
AEW is mad because they were talking to her, but essentially that she was already going to WWE and she just worked Forbidden Door.
I have no sympathy for them. They've done the
There
same thing.
it was, I think,
So
CMLL or New Japan. One of those two companies had dates for her to. Oh, it was New Japan because she had to drop the title. No, CMLL because she had to drop the title. It was in San Diego. She was supposed to drop the title there at some event, and then obviously he's not anymore. So because of that signing, so they're pissed because now she has to drop title or find a way, whatnot. So it fucks up their plans. I just love it. I mean, I love it that she's coming here because from what I did see in her match at Forbidden Door, there's a lot of potential there for her to really be a heavy hitter in the women's division. And we were saying that Rhea Ripley needs, kind of a comparison. And
yeah.
it may not be the size with Vaquer, but it's definitely the power and, strength.
Well, and
Fuerza.
then I had seen a rumor, and I don't know for sure. We'll have to see, but because she is a hard hitter, there are people saying that she is going to be allowed to continue with her strikes, just minus like the headbutt or something like that, which I think that's pretty
No
cool.
one really does a headbutt. Yeah.
Just because like she is going to be so different than what they have with the women right now. And it's going to be interesting because a lot of, or if not basically the entire women's division for the most part, not all of them, obviously, are WWE trained. So we kind of see a lot of this similar style because they were all trained at the Performance Center or in NXT, FCW, whatever. So it's going to be interesting that they're going to be adding more talent into NXT that will eventually be on the main roster who, yeah, they'll train at the PC just because, like, why wouldn't they? But they are people who learned in Japan, they learned in Mexico, they learned in, Europe somewhere. Like, it's going to be such a different style. And I think that that's cool for the women's division specifically, because obviously we see it all everywhere in the men's division. But there's not a lot of variation in that way with the women. So the fact that they're bringing in women who have such different skill sets, I think is really cool. And it's about time,
It's about time. Will Chisholm, thank you for the $5 dono.
Thank
Haven't seen
you.
one of these in a while, so that's really refreshing to see. At WWE NXT getting started, Stephanie, Vaquer, Julia, and maybe Jordan Grace. It's a nasty big three for NXT to get. Well, not Jordan Grace, maybe down the road.
Yeah.
But I did see a comment. Yeah, Dickie over here. Delta is the one who's coming in.
There's rumors about that. I haven't seen confirmation. So I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying it's not true, but I haven't seen any confirmation of Delta coming. But still, I'm like, they're killing it. That's why when we were just talking about this, and I'm not trying to like rain on the Mercedes Moné train, but people have talked about how she was going to end up back in WWE to end her career. She's said as much. But the women's division in WWE is getting so good that they were getting to a point where they're not going to need to bring a Mercedes Moné back to WWE. Like, they're really I mean, in some regard, I can't say completely, but they're trying to prioritize making the women's division better in WWE from Raw, SmackDown to NXT. They're not having to rely on bringing these other people into their company to make their women's division better. And that's kind of a lot of what they're doing in AEW, obviously. So I don't know that we're going to need to think about those girls needing to come back, because if they're going to keep signing like any of the women like these girls, then why would they need those others? You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
it's already stacked and it's only getting better.
Literally getting better every day. It's
Mhm.
fucking awesome. It's been commented already here in the chat, so I'll bring it up now. Bailey went on the So What Do You Want to Talk About, or What Do You Want to Talk About podcast, Cody Rhodes, the pilot episode. And question came up by Cody if Bailey would like to see another women's evolution. Obviously, Bailey said that she would love that to happen. And I got the quote here too. Thank God for Fightful. Yes, why not? Like we were just saying, there's so many women. The thing about the first one is we had so many girls from NXT, which they got to showcase on a bigger stage, but they had so many women from the past. It's kind of like the first few Rumbles. They had a lot of women from the past because we didn't have enough women to fill up these matches, but now we do. I think it would be so cool to give everybody on Raw and SmackDown a part of that show. Evolution 2. You can bring in girls from NXT. We just saw Jordan Grace on NXT. NXT girls. Whatever that connection is there, we can bring different girls, and you can bring someone in from the past if they're up for it to do a little something. But we have such a stacked roster. They do. And that's why it makes sense to at least try and do another 2.
Well, and I think that I understand the argument of wanting to do it much sooner than right now or next year, whenever they might actually do it. But I think that the best time to do it is now. I think the rosters are the best. They're in better hands with Triple H because, they're not only being relegated to main event or, a few minute matches a week or only backstage segments. Like, we're actually seeing more interesting stories and tons of women being featured on a weekly basis on Raw and SmackDown and NXT. There's even been NXT PLEs that 3 of the 5 matches were women's matches, and that's just like unheard of. If you talked about this like 5 years ago, it would be like, what? So I think that I would be super on board for an evolution to now because of the way that the women's division is looking. And I would almost argue that it would need to be more than the Triple H general allotted 5 matches. I think that they would need to get like 7. Because I think if you're going to dedicate a pay-per-view solely to women, then you need to stack the card more than only 5, because then that means you're only going to showcase 10 women at minimum.
At minimum.
So, but I think, you're bringing in Julia, you're bringing in Stephanie Vaquer, you're bringing in allegedly Delta, Bailey even mentioned that she wants to see Candice LeRae finally have her like breakout WWE moment. We're getting to a point where people are going to want to sit down and watch a full women's pay-per-view, especially if we're going to add in these big names that are being added to NXT. So I think that the time is now for them to be like to have the most successful chance of being having a good evolution, if that makes sense. Like, I think that if they did this 2 years ago, we probably wouldn't be talking about it again. You know what I mean? And it's like just because of the way that things are booked or the women that were being featured. I think now that the women are doing so well in the company, there are going to be more people who actually want to sit down and watch a women only PLE.
I would.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy at this point. Let me see if we have anything here. Oh, this is a cool comment before we get to the next one. With USA getting SmackDown, I can see a third hour coming soon.
I have been saying this for so long that I think that they need to go with a 3-hour SmackDown, because if we want to talk about the women's division, being stacked. Okay, the roster in WWE in general is getting stacked. And there's almost no point in having NXT call-ups because you're like you're either going to have them be relegated to catering, or you're going to have guys that have been on SmackDown for however long be relegated to catering. It's kind of like what happened with Cameron Grimes. Like, there's no reason for Cameron Grimes, in my opinion, to have been forced out of the company essentially because they didn't want to use him. Like, that's a guy that they should be having on TV because he's so good in the ring. He's so charismatic. So I do think adding another hour to SmackDown is the way to go. You could almost do the same thing with NXT. If they're going to keep making the brand even bigger, might as well add a third hour. Eventually, I assume, I mean, my assumption is all of it is going to go to Netflix, because then WWE is going to be able to put everything on one platform, and then they're not going to be restricted with, you know, whatever language barriers, you know, like swearing or the type of content that they can show. So it seems like that should be the path that they're going on, but giving SmackDown a third hour, yeah. I mean, it's kind of, or I think that would kind of make it feel a little bit more equal to Raw too, because it still does feel like the B show, but like it's the face of the company is currently the champion on SmackDown, and it's like you don't want it to feel like
the B show exactly.
But you don't want it to feel like that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, so I think adding a third hour would get. I mean, I feel like it should anyway. Sometimes SmackDown goes by so fast, and then when we sit here to try to talk about it, you know, on the SmackDown breakdown, it's like, oh, I have like 5 banners because that's it.
Yeah,
like, they don't have enough time.
It's so funny to see the Tuesday, Saturday. It's so funny to see the difference. I'm trying to think wrong one. I don't want to talk about that one right now. Want to invent this. WWE reposted the comment that we just talked about. So if they're reposting it, something is being in the works. It might not be called Evolution 2, might be called something else, but something is in the works.
Even more so if Stephanie McMahon is really a little bit more involved, because there were rumors about her kind of being around a bit more in recent months, especially around WrestleMania. So we know that she was one of the leading voices for the original Evolution. And Bayley has been saying it for years. That's a thing that it's kind of funny. Like, I understand why Cody was asking the question, but I think he was asking the question knowing the answer already, because Bayley has been like the biggest advocate for women's wrestling in WWE. I mean, there's a reason why she goes to NXT shows on her days off. Like, she wants to go and train with these girls or watch them. So, yeah, I would assume that it's going to happen at some point. I just don't know when, but clearly they are willing to create new pay-per-views or new names. Like, they're not being like, okay, it's October, we have to do this. It's like, no, we just found out Bad Blood is going to be in October. So like, they could easily throw in Evolution, like if they wanted to, in next June, if they wanted to instead. You know what I mean?
You can make it a special, like a Peacock special. Like, it doesn't need to be like a premium live event. You could just do some sort of streaming show or TNA type of show where it's just streaming, but it's all women. You know, like, you could.
It could also be like the second PLE in a month, the way that they do with Saudi. You know what I mean? Like, they were doing a big pay-per-view, and then they were also like 2-3 weeks later, they were doing a show in Saudi. So it's like, you could do that with the Evolution too. Like, and then you don't have to worry about it having, you know, because I assume that it's not going to be the only PLE in a month. It's going to be second. It's going to be an additional one. So I would assume it's going to be something like that, which I think that's fine, because I think that they're getting to a point where, yeah, people will sit there and watch it. Like, it doesn't have to be, oh yeah, let's stack the women on this card, but there's also like 3 men's matches. Like, I think they can handle an all-women's show.
You can easily have an all-women's show.
Yeah.
Easily. All right. Where are we going here? What? You know what? Let's talk about this, because I love this. Max Caster quoted the announcement that MXM was coming to AEW Ring of Honor, and he said, "We don't want him." And then Mansoor quote tweeted with a rap, absolutely putting Max Caster on blast. And I like the Acclaimed, but facts are facts. That dude got fucking roasted.
Well, it's like half the
Goddamn.
Acclaimed is cool, and Max Caster's not the cool part.
2/3, because we definitely stand daddy ass in this house.
Whatever. I loved this because for the most part, when he has said this, mind you, he said this also about Shelton Benjamin, which I'm just like, who are you, bro? Like, but whatever.
Yeah.
I like that Mansoor answered directly to him and answered him in a language that he understands, you know, because he's known for these raps and like he's fallen off a bit in recent months with his rapping because people have come for him being like, you forgot your rap or whatever. So the fact that Mansoor put this together and it didn't sound rehearsed, it didn't seem I mean, I'm sure it was written before, but it didn't come off like that. And he was just hitting him in the exact same way that Max decides to do because he's you know, a keyboard warrior. So it is what it is. I also loved some of the fans' responses because I did not realize that Caster was in that segment where he was playing like one of it was like one of Bobby Lashley's like sisters or something like that, where he was literally dressed up as a woman.
Sami Zayn. Yeah. The worst.
And like,
one of the worst segments.
Who are you, bro, to say anything to anybody? You signed up to be an extra on Raw and we're cool with wearing a bad wig, women's clothes, and lipstick on Raw. You know what I mean? Like, you can't say anything. Like, people do what they gotta do. The Maximum Male Models ended up getting over towards the end of their WWE run. They've gotten really over since they were released. And so it's like, you're not cool for like talking trash online. You know what I mean? And like I said, you already like buried yourself in this regard by saying anything negative about Shelton Benjamin, who is one of the most respected veterans in wrestling. So like, what are you doing? I think he just does it to get people to talk about him. And unfortunately, that's what we're doing. So, but as I said, I feel like he's also creating drama for, you know, Anthony, for instance. That's not fair because then everybody just assumes that the Acclaimed are a bunch of douchebags. And it's like, that's not necessarily the case. This guy is just a troll.
Exactly. And then wrap up around the Wrestleverse with Finn Balor, his extension, 5 years. We mentioned it a little bit on the Raw Rewind, but it is the Thursday show, so what that means is anything goes. And Sarah, because I'm such a giving champion to the peeps, I wanted to give you this time to just go off, not only about his extension, which you're definitely happy to see him in WWE for the next 5 years, but who he wants to face.
Oh my God.
It's also one of your guys too. So I feel like I have nothing to say except open my ears and just listen to you go on about two of your kings potentially being at it as Finn wants to face Gunther.
I feel like Finn read my diary or something. You know what I mean? That's like what this feels like. It's like he knew what my fantasy match was. And it's like, yeah, okay, I want it. Yeah, I was really excited because, you know, I've been a big fan of Finn Balor for over a decade. So I've always had really high hopes for him to have a real breakout moment because, yes, he was the first Universal Champion for 24 hours. So it's like, I can't be too excited about that. You know what I mean? They had him return at a house show after that. Ridiculous. They've not really treated him in a serious way since then, hence why he even went back down to NXT. Again, killed it. Absolutely killed it because this man is like the owner of NXT. I don't care. Like, there aren't many people who have had better careers in NXT than Finn Balor. And so I've loved what he's done with Judgment Day because it's very much of what I've wanted to see from him, because I've said for a long time that I wanted to see an edgier, darker heel version of Finn Balor. I want to see snippets of the Bullet Club, Prince Devitt, like give that to me. That's what I want. And we've seen little peaks of that throughout the Judgment Day era. And even though I'm not thrilled with everything that's gone on, obviously, like, great that Damian Priest is champion, but if you ask me, I would much prefer it be Finn. Clearly, he's happy with where he's at, and the conversation that he had with the WWE executives, which I believe he even alluded to in this conversation about revealing that he signed a 5-year contract. So I would like to believe that they have some bigger plans for him because of that, because if there wasn't, that those details were not in that conversation, I don't know why he would come back. You know what I mean? Like, I get he's comfortable here and whatever, but like, he would kill it anywhere. Like, imagine him returning to New Japan. Like, hello.
He would have some unreal matches with some of those Japanese stars.
And it would like break the internet, like a guy like Finn or Fergal Devitt returning to New Japan, like that would be huge. So I'm hoping that means that there are big plans for him in the future. And the fact that he name dropped Gunther, give it to me. Like, do not throw that out there and tease me with that. And now I have to hold on to this thought until it actually happens. Like, this needs to happen. There's no reason for Triple H to hear this and be like, oh, okay, yeah, haha, that's cool. Like, cool story, bro. No, give it. You need to put that on pay-per-view immediately, please.
He literally said what he did actually call him dead ass. Walter, Gunther, whatever you want to call him, in my opinion, is probably the best performer on earth right now. And then he also said, let me see, is it the same? Yeah, it was the same interview. I expressed my opinion to the office. I would love to get that Gunther match in the future. So fingers crossed. I got 5 years on me deal, so we can get it done in the next 5 years.
It's gonna happen. It's just when, I feel like we might not be too far from it, because we know that he will be facing Damian Priest at SummerSlam for the title. And we've talked about how it seems crazy to think about Damian retaining over Gunther at SummerSlam. Like, the idea of Gunther losing is ridiculous, but it also doesn't feel like his title reign is going to end at SummerSlam, because we haven't gotten to a point where it feels like his title reign is ending. But if Gunther is in the mix at some point, well, there's Judgment Day connection there. So we could see that. The problem is, of course, they're both heels, so I don't know if that's going to happen, just because I don't know that Triple H is going to want to put those guys against each other at this point.
There's got to be a world title involved.
Yeah, so I'm excited. I just have high hopes. I want to see Finn Balor just have the best years of his career at this point. From here until he's 47 years old when his
that was what you said,
47.
That's what you said.
So I'm just excited. I'm like, yes, please, because I want to see more from him, and I want to see him have like a real legit WrestleMania match where he doesn't have to job to an idiot named Edge. So
it's Cope now.
I don't care. He put staples in my man's head. So
what was it set with the shirt? What was the shirt that
10? I think it was like Finn, like better is like greater than 10 staples or something like that.
It was a hell of a shirt. I'd buy it if I saw it.
He also buried the demon even further, so that's why Edge is also on my shit list.
He did say he didn't want to do it. That's tough. But enough of that. Let's go for the pin. We got the 1, 2, 3 count coming at you. All right. And Sara, I want to know, because it's almost Friday, so let's flashback. I was thinking about this in the car, about different moments in time, not really just wrestling, but just in general, like how crazy it was learning about certain historic moments.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just learning about it, and you're like, that's so cool, but like, imagine living it. And I want to throw it back here, the question for the show: what wrestling moment in history, it can be historic, it can be personal, that you wish you could travel to and experience that crowd and excitement with the crowd?
I feel like there's a few, and the two that immediately came to my head, unfortunately, involve Hulk Hogan, and that was by pure accident. But you know, it is what it is.
Brother.
I would love to be there for Rock versus Hollywood Hogan. At
I didn't
Mania.
think of that one.
I would love to
really
be there
good
for
one.
that because that was such an iconic match. I mean, I think that for the most part, that is a lot of people's favorite match of all time. And I think it's not even just because of the wrestling match, but it's because of the story and the meaning and like everything that came from that. So I feel like that would have just been like incredible. But then of course we were just talking about it, so I feel like it. I would have loved to have been at Bash at the Beach. I just want to see all of those little babies cry about Hogan turning and joining the NWO, or even like the first time that the NWO debuted on television together in the black and white. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like even in WWE, even though I hate Vince for what he did to the NWO and WWE, I would have loved to have been at like No Way Out, NWO. Yeah, like
I would go. That's a good, like, the Rock Hogan is really good because that crowd, the energy shifted. It like literally shifted mid match, and that's something that I've only experienced with the Patriots. So
I would also say maybe even like Mania 20, just in general, because the triple
we
threat.
won't go into reason. We won't go into reason.
Well, I have one reason. The triple threat is one of my favorites, but Eddie Guerrero winning would be like, yeah, I would love to be there because that was such a big moment too.
It was. That was like such a cool, like, that was such a wholesome moment that was such a, like, two dudes from WCW who were basically thrown to the mud and trying to resurrect something out of shit. And then they come to the rival brand and become their champion after
and two smaller guys that people didn't think could become anything.
Never.
You know, they're never going to be the face of the company. They're never going to be, the champions. Like, it doesn't matter how good they are with wrestling. It doesn't matter how good they cut a promo or how many fans love them or how entertaining they are. You know, it's like they're just never it. And especially because we know they were not what Vince liked in a wrestler. So the fact that it happened in the same night is pretty incredible.
My go-to one, my gut one is Austin returning at Backlash.
Mm-hmm.
That has to be the loudest pop I've ever heard. Now that I think about it, I actually would rather be in the crowd for Mankind winning. That I mean, that was, talk about energy shifting. That was the tides turning in the Monday Night War. Ooh. And that would be an unreal one.
What about being there when Shane announced he bought WCW?
See, that would be cool because there's no social media. Mm-hmm. So like you're just like, wait, dead
you're
ass?
finding
like,
out in real time.
No idea.
Yeah.
You have no idea if it's like, well, maybe because Vince could just give it. Like, you have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the shit I miss. The Hardy Boys returning at WrestleMania 35. It was in Orlando. That one. That was
huge.
Fucking bananas. Yeah, I could go down the list. Let us know in the comments below what you would go to. All right, 2. No Nights Off versus shit pits.
You fucking idiot. No, just kidding.
Fucking idiot.
Moron.
Oh, let me hit it again. Yeah, No Nights Off. So us taking on who and why? It's like, why are we asking this? Well, SRS is getting in the ring with Effie over in GCW, which if anyone has not heard of Effie, go watch Effie's shit. I watched a documentary on him. He's awesome. Muscle Man Malcolm is getting in the ring with digital media champion of TNA, AJ Francis.
Mm.
Like everyone's getting in the ring, and I've always said that I don't want to be a wrestler, but I want to get in the ring, to just truly empathize with them. And when I talk about it, it has a little bit more meaning. You kind of walk a mile in their shoes, as the folklore goes. So I thought I would ask the question to you: who would you want to get into the ring with? What, and not like a feud, like where you're bloody and all. Like, just who would you like to get in the ring?
Like just me one-on-one with somebody?
One-on-one, it could be you and I taking on someone. Like, it doesn't matter.
I would almost feel like it would be really fun to go against the Miz. I know that's like such a random answer, but like, and he's kind of annoying, but I feel like he would make it so easy to just go off his energy, and like, and have it be fun and entertaining. And then of course, he's so witty and quick. It's like, I feel like you could kind of match that with your banter. I don't know. I feel like that would be kind of fun. And he's always such a good sport. Like, he'll do whatever, so it's like, if I were to do that, it's like I could do something to him and he'd be down, like he wouldn't care if he looked ridiculous or something. I feel like he would be good for that.
I had it and lost it. That sucks. I would like to get in the ring with, like, it's more like indie people that I watch. I don't know if I would. Matt Cardona is one, because I always love Zack Ryder.
A death match.
Okay, hear me out. I wouldn't mind a death match, but no light tubes. I can't do the I can't do the light tubes. And if I'm gonna do it, that's the thing. So like, I'll go all out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna live the gimmick. But light tubes really freak me out.
Yeah.
Like, even more than barbed wire. You might think I'm a lunatic for that, but barbed wire, like, you just go, I don't know. The light tubes, it goes everywhere. Like, I don't.
All of it freaks me out. Like the thumbtacks, like the things that they're willing to do in these stipulation matches are so insane, because you kind of almost like disassociate them from being real humans. You know what I mean? Because it feels like you're watching it on TV and you're like, oh, that's gotta hurt. And it's like, you kind of forget that is actually happening to a real person, that there is no like armor or protection. It's like, no, they really were willing to go headfirst into a table, or be thrown back first onto a pile of barbed wire or thumbtacks, or put through a burning table, and it's like, all for your entertainment? Really? I'm not too entertained. I'm terrified.
I'll go to wrap up my thoughts. I will go Matt Hardy, and then I could take someone. We could do Jeff. If you and I want to take on the Hardy Boys, I'm in. Okay. And one-on-one, I want to go against my boy, the victorious one, BRG. I think we could put on like a fun match. You know what I mean? Like a Sami Zayn, Johnny Knoxville type of thing. Like, I think we could put on a really fun match. I'm gonna put that into the Wrestleverse, the ether, because that would be pretty interesting. I mean, connections. And then 3, we got to wrap up with the bad gal. And Sarah, you see the banner here: Ponzi schemes and politics. That's basically, to sum up, the last 2 streams that I did. I did the holiday one, or the one on Monday, because of the holiday. And then obviously I was bored yesterday, and I did one with the actual Candice LeRae story. And Sarah, I'm really not going to lie. Like, when I say Nonsense Wrestling Federation, it's really for the gimmick of the Nonsense Sports Network, but also it's just nonsense. Like, the Ponzi schemes is the first one I did on Monday, where I was going to go feud with Candice LeRae, but I'm trying to be someone who clears all their notifications before they go into the next story. So I go to do that, and there's like a challenge or side quest. And I'm like, oh, it's probably just like one match. Like, I'll get the bonus points for you, no problem. And it just, I was in another story that was multiple weeks of Nikki Cross sending me this app about breathing and meditation. And it's like, would you be interested? So I said, sure, because the way like the words were going, it was just like, yeah, sure, whatever will help. So I did that. And then we got into this big feud with this girl, Ava Moreno. And not real, by the way. That's a 2K created person. And she became obsessed with it because it was all about however many people you get to refer to you, you get paid or
So
whatever.
it was a pyramid scheme.
Ponzi scheme, pyramid scheme, tomato potato, basically the same thing. That happened, and it culminated with us fighting Ava Moreno. I forget why, because I'm so hyper focused on the fact that we were wrestling over a goddamn meditation breathing app for a storyline. So that was that. And then we came back the next week and feuded with Candice LeRae, who's a little sneak. We've been praising her on this show, but not in the nonsense galaxy. We do not praise her, Sarah, because she praised us for being an indie gal like herself, because TBD is on the indies. And when
Remy, that was
and
so
when
rude.
oh, did he knock over Gunther?
Remy knocked over Gunther.
That's so rude.
I know.
And when she was on because of the indie connection, she was like, oh, I'll help you out. I'll put you in this match. And then she put us in a match with Chelsea Green, but it was submissions only. That match took forever. I don't like submission matches in video games. I don't like it. Okay? It's really difficult. And then it was like, okay, next week you're in a knockout match. So you had to knock out your opponent against Piper Niven. We beat Piper Niven. We knocked her out. We got her up for the AO, which was pretty cool. For anyone who doesn't know, it's just feast your eyes, but we made it for Sarah's character. So we hit her with the AO. She was knocked out. Boom, goodbye. You're going to like this next part because we became best friends with somebody. Someone's got our back in the locker room.
Becky.
It's Becky Lynch.
Yes, queen.
She's got your back because she warns us that Candice LeRae does this to all the new indie girls who come in, that she puts them in matches with other indie people to try to wear them down because they're tougher and they're, stronger style. Matches that would wear your body down to the point where you're not able to compete week to week. You're in catering more than you're on screen. And then she is the true indie queen. Really, really methodical, cerebral type of thinking from Candice LeRae. So Becky warns this. We say, thank you so much, yada, yada, yada. And then Candice LeRae tries to put us in another match. We go, wait, we got another match for you. We got an idea. I want to challenge you to a match. And Candice like, oh, Becky, talk to you. So Becky and her got a little feud going on here in this story. I like where that's going. And it's an Iron Man match, a 10-minute Iron Man match.
Oh, wow.
So I had a 10-minute. It was the longest stream I've done by far. Between the submission match against Chelsea Green. I hit her with like 5 AOs, and I went to go submit her, and she just would reverse it. So very frustrating. But yeah, we won that Iron Woman match 5-1. Like it wasn't even a contest really. And then that was it for now. There's something I can't even tell you what the preview is for next week. So we'll have to find out because I forget what it is, but I had to stop there. There's 3 more people. I forget who they are. That's why you got to tune in. Twitch.tv/Nonsense Sports Network to tune in and watch Sara take over the WWE Women's Division. And it's so much fun. It's so much fun to do. And I'm going to be putting up the clips. I've been editing the clips and for a future project. And like our hero says, the time is now. So we're going to be posting them. I'll work on that. Little highlights of my commentary and the gameplay on this channel. So that's why you got to hit subscribe. Got to hit that subscribe button, Sarah, to find all content like that. Our clips from past shows. We had one go viral overnight, you told me.
Not
So,
viral, but yeah.
well, like it blew up.
Yeah.
It did numbies.
Yeah, for us, yeah.
For us, about our thoughts on Rhea Ripley returning to Raw on Monday.
I'm surprised more people are agreeing than I anticipated.
Well, it means it's smart. We're acquiring smart wrestling peeps. It's nice. We want smart people in our circle. Who doesn't? Whoa. My StreamYard just screwed up. So I can't wait for that. And then what else we got cooking? SmackDown Breakdown Saturday. What are we thinking? Yeah, it's going to be pretty good. SmackDown's looking pretty good this week. I'll be watching.
I just want to see Pretty Deadly. That's all, because I didn't get to see them last week because my freaking thing did not record.
Yeah, you gotta fix that, because I actually did I tell you the Pretty Deadly was? Yeah, I told you they were on. Yeah, I told you they were on, and then you said that it didn't record. So
yeah,
I didn't even ask the entry. That's not. So go. We'll be back then on Saturday for the SmackDown Breakdown. And in the meantime, go hit that subscribe button, bell notification know when we go live. Go follow all our social media platforms in the links in the description below. And yeah, that's all we got. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of No Nights Off. God bless. Remember that you can do it. All you got to do is try. Woo! See you Saturday. Yeah.